And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Joining us now from ICOM, promoting our school, securing our future, Weston Grant, ICOM student. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. So tell us a little bit about the academic year. Is it winding down for you? Do you guys go year-round? How is ICOM different from, let's say, the schools that we all know and love, high school, college, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we are taking our final exam for our final exam today. So this is our last day of school, and then we will have a 2-month summer break. So it's about the same as maybe an undergrad, where you go and then you have a good summer break, and about the same as high school for this year. But then once we get into our 3rd and 4th years, that's when summer breaks go away.
Sure. Now, what year are you in?
We're first year, so we're at the end of our first year.
And what is that like for you? I mean, we always talk about, a new job, moving to a new place. Mm-hmm. Is that experience like that for you, or is it on steroids?
Steroids for sure, yeah. Because, so basically, just to explain a little bit, is that so this past year, 9 months, we have gone through the musculoskeletal system, the nervous system, the respiratory system, the cardio system, and blood, lymph, and immune systems.
Do you have your favorite system?
Yes, cardio and neuro, but cardio right now, but likely to change. And so we go basically throughout the whole year, we go through each system, and then we go through what it's like when it's healthy, what it's like when it's not healthy, and then every ways to fix it. And it's a lot of information. So it's steroids times maybe 100.
Right, maybe human growth hormone.
Yeah. Good job.
When we take a look at time management, we have people that write books on it. We do seminars on it. We're always opining on it. We'll just say us civilians, not you people at ICOM. Can you share with us your time management skills?
Yeah, that's a good question. So 7 days a week you're studying, and you are always in the books trying to gather the information, because everything is there's just so much information. So
now wait a minute, you people have books?
Yeah, well, they're electronic books, but we do have some physical books too.
Well, for traditional sake, right?
Yeah, and I'm for the traditional way. But it's all about time management. I mean, you only have so many hours in the day, right? And so I spend about 3 to 4 hours trying to study, but I also have to make time for other stuff outside of school, because it gets draining after a couple weeks of just doing studying. So you go to class from 8 to 5, and then after that you study for about 2-3 hours if you can, or more, and then try to watch a little bit of TV, and you repeat that 7 days a week.
Can you share with us your journey here?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was in 6th grade, because of my own physician that inspired me, and I'm from Texas, and so I went to college, and I just knew that I wanted to be a doctor. And the first time I applied to medical schools, I got rejected by 20 medical schools, all 20 that I applied to. Then I reapplied and got 3 acceptances, and I chose to come here and be gladly out of the state of Texas.
Now wait a minute, we hear Texas, it's bigger. You got the oil men, J.R. Ewing, the con men, that sort of thing. Everything is great in Texas. From Texas to Idaho, I think people here in the Treasure Valley, they'd love to hear why Idaho.
Because it's way prettier, and the summers are a lot better. That's for sure. The only thing that Idaho's missing is barbecue. We need some good brisket up here, but other than that, you got skiing, everything like that. Texas, not the same. It's not the same. So
I don't think you'll be allowed to go back to Texas.
I'm not, and that's totally fine with me. That's totally fine. I'm good here in Idaho. And I love the mountains and that kind of stuff, and to be a part of a new place was one of my dreams. So that's really why I came up here.
Weston, can you tell us about overcoming rejection? 20 applications, and again, here you are, high school, college, top of your class, achieving a lot, and then you get 20 rejections.
Yeah, I actually got overall, over the course of 2 years of applying, I got about 48 rejection letters, which is, after a while you're like, what's going on? But I just knew that there's nothing else I wanted to do. And so I just was waiting for that one yes, and waiting for the right fit. And so I just knew I couldn't give up. It was going to happen one day. I just didn't know when. And that was the toughest part. But it was good because I got to go and get a master's degree in a year, so that it improved my science understanding, which is really great. But it was exhausting, not gonna lie. It was pretty demeaning.
It sounds like you took a negative and turned it into a positive.
Yeah.
But was there ever any doubt?
Oh yeah, for sure. And there's still doubt to this day. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sat during a test here and just said, "What am I doing? What am I doing with my life?" And then it's like, well, you know what? I got all this student debt, so I got to stick with it because I got to pay it off one day. So
Well, that's great that student debt is motivating you to complete your task. Yeah.
among other things. But I think it's extremely natural in this environment, and medical students in general, just having that. There's times that you're like, what am I doing with my life? But how I motivate myself and just remind myself is that one day, as cheesy as it is, I'm going to be able to make a difference in a patient's life, whether that's saving their life or improving their quality of life. And I can't wait for that moment, and it couldn't be here soon enough, I hope. So
That's quite a responsibility, though.
yes, I can't wait for it.
You can't wait for it.
Yeah, especially because I want to go into pediatrics. So
Why pediatrics?
kids are way more fun. I think I'm still a kid at heart. So
I'm kind of getting that.
yeah, they're just easier to talk to. You can play with their imaginations, and they don't automatically hate you when you walk in the room, most of the time.
You don't ask the kid for the copay.
No, exactly, precisely. And so you can just make a difference in those kiddos' lives. And I think it's also part of the reason why is because the doctor that inspired me to be a physician was impactful during the most formative years of my life. And so I was really thankful for that. But it is a big responsibility, and I think that's why medical school has to be challenging, because if a person wants to be a doctor and they can't get through the challenge of studying 7 days a week forever, then do you really want them having control over your life when you're in the hospital, or just having that trust and that that trust?
Well, and especially in the field you're going into, but any medical field where you have total strangers that put their trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the most precious gift we get from God is children.
Yeah.
And then not only dealing with a child who might have a serious injury, a serious illness, gaining that trust, making that right call.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you want to do that.
I actually want to go into pediatric oncology, so that's even exponentially harder. But yeah, I think I think of what the comforting factor of it too is that it's a team aspect once you get in the hospital, because while it is on the physician's shoulders, you have a bunch of people on the team that I hope will continue to say, hey, maybe we should try this, or have you thought about this, or this is a great idea, keep going with it, that kind of stuff, and just continue to have that checks and balances as well within the team. So it's not just solely the doctor, but in some situations it can be. But I think that's kind of what draws all of us towards the medical field, is having that decision making and that responsibility.
When you take a look at the state of Idaho, our medical infrastructure compared to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
how would you compare it?
Very different. Texas has a ton of hospitals. You have I'm from Dallas, so we have some of the greatest hospitals in the world, and then Houston has some of the best hospitals world round, especially for oncology. MD Anderson down there, and you have Parkland, which is a community hospital in Dallas, one of the few community hospitals in the country, and their ER is always going crazy, and I think their maternity ward sees some of the highest rates of births than any other hospital, and so it's a much different, but.
Is different mean better?
No, not necessarily. The good thing about the Dallas system is that there obviously is a lot more doctors to go see, and so you don't have to wait as long. And so I think that's the biggest difference, is that we don't have that here necessarily.
Right. Of course, you have a lot more people, but you take a look at the hospitals, and you have practicing physicians that are teaching here at ICOM from St. Al's, from St. Luke's, Treasure Valley, West Valley, Salzer, a lot of choices. How do you see this area developing medically? Primary care. I'm trying to think of all the hospitals here. It seems that we have churches, gyms, and now medical facilities here.
It's kind of like that everywhere. We used to joke that there's a Starbucks on every corner in Dallas, but now there's a urgent care on every corner down in Dallas. But I think if you are a resident of Treasure Valley, you should be pretty comforted by the fact of who's trying to get the healthcare going here, because some of the faculty members that we have here that teach us are so incredible and so kind and just incredible doctors, and they're leading the charge of improving and increasing the doctor shortage here. And so I think you should be comforted, because I've some of the best doctors that I've ever met are here in the Treasure Valley, and that makes me feel comfortable about staying here and being a patient, not just a student. So,
Weston, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we go back to the Mueller Report. We'll hear from Nancy Pelosi as well. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
We have our differences. We have to be respectful of that and again, try to unify, not divide in what we do. But I do think as we go down this path, the American people will know the truth, and the president will be held accountable.
There we have it. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi commenting on Robert Mueller, commenting on this, commenting on that. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, joined by Jalon Milkovich. Senator, good to have you back with us.
Hey, Kevin, it's always a pleasure to be with you.
So, Robert Mueller speaks. You've studied him. You've written about him. Your thoughts?
Listen, Robert Mueller has done nothing to bolster his credibility with me or with anyone on the face of the planet. I mean, he's been involved in 30 years of cover-ups, which we had a chance to talk about in our book, and which researchers have been documenting, from Whitey Bulger to Pan Am 103 to Anthrax, 9/11, weapons of mass destruction, to him being a phony that helped sell out our Constitution and bring in a surveillance state in America. He was unable to make a case against the president using the full panoply of investigative methods available to him, the subpoenas, the witnesses, the interviews, the lawyers bullying people. He wasn't even able to manufacture a case against the president by threatening, intimidating, and trying to terrify people into lying against the president. So when he can't make a case against the president in over 21 months, and he says, well, there still may be a case out there, he is entitled to zero credibility because, number one, he couldn't make the case. Number two, he couldn't manufacture the case. And number three, he's been a lying public official for at least 30 years.
Let's talk a little bit about the Whitey Bulger case that you detail in your book. Many people don't understand it. It's been talked about on national media. The idea of innocent men dying in prison, innocent men being put to death because of the decision of the now retired, or whatever you want to call him, Mr. Mueller.
Yeah, and he didn't actually prosecute the cases, but the big picture, Barry, big picture is pretty simple. Whitey Bulger was a mafia thug in Boston, and he was protected and doing business by the Boston FBI. And 3 Boston FBI agents have been indicted, implicated, and or imprisoned for committing murder. Yes, that's right. FBI agents in Boston were involved in murder with Whitey Bulger. And the problem is, Robert Mueller was first initially assistant U.S. attorney, then acting U.S. attorney in Boston for over 5 years. Guess what he did about the fact that the Boston FBI and the Boston Mafia were working together to kill people, run drugs, numbers, extortion, gambling? Not a thing. And by the way, 4 guys did get framed for a murder committed by 2 of Whitey Bulger's criminal associates, and Mueller was happy for them to spend years in prison. 2 of them actually died in prison for a murder they didn't commit because the U.S. attorney and the Boston FBI were protecting Whitey Bulger and his associates. Basically, the U.S. attorney's office was aiding and abetting the Boston mob and the Boston FBI while Mueller was in power in Boston.
Right. You don't have to watch the Leonardo DiCaprio movie to get a sense of how evil Whitey Bulger was and how complicit the FBI was in allowing him to continue his crime spree.
That's exactly right, Kevin. And it gets so disturbing. I mean, we think the cops and the government and the prosecutors are supposed to be the good guys. Well, they weren't in this case. And Robert Mueller, who many in the mainstream media is knighted as a knight in shining armor, He was right in the middle of the corruption, did not lift a finger. And some are swearing that the letter or letters have apparently disappeared, but have vouched that they actually saw Robert Mueller sign a letter to say, keep the innocent guys who got framed for Whitey Bulger's murder, a murder committed by Whitey Bulger's associates, keep the innocent guys in prison. And, in effect, he let the guilty go free. That which is his MO, from Pan Am 103 to anthrax to, that's. So how do we, if he's been lying for 30 years of his career in the Department of Justice and the FBI, how does he all of a sudden attain credibility to tell us that our president is doing wrong? He's a liar.
What about the Pan Am 103?
Well, and Kevin, again, the short story on that is September 21st, 1988, flight leaves from London to America, gets blown to bits over Lockerbie, Scotland. Many that are my age group remember that horrific event. Well, within days, if not hours, the international intelligence community knew who had done it. It was Ahmed Jibril, is a Palestinian terrorist that was paid by the Iranians to blow up the plane. He had the bomb built, and Mansour al-Qassar was a Syrian drug lord who helped get the bomb on board the plane. And then there were some crooked CIA agents who gave a green light for the flight to attack. Who investigates on behalf of the United States? Well, guess who? Robert Mueller. What does he do? He covers up for the perpetrators that sent 270 people to their death, and he scapegoats two Libyan intelligence officers who had absolutely nothing to do with it. So, that's Robert Mueller. And by the way, this is not conspiracy theory. There's been multiple books written about this, documenting that Robert Mueller led the cover up that let the guilty murderers off and terrorists off, and scapegoated a couple guys who didn't have anything to do with it. So, you know what I mean? We can talk about 9/11. He flew the Saudis and bin Ladens that were in America out of America so they couldn't be questioned. He lied to Congress and told them that Iraq or Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, so we go in and get involved in that debacle with over 4,500 American soldiers dead and scores of thousands of Iraqis dead. He went to Congress and said, look, we need to spy. The federal government needs to spy on every living American law-abiding citizen by spying on their emails and cell phones and landlines and texts and faxes. So where along his career did he do anything to earn credibility or credence or a reputation of honesty? He's been lying his whole career. And I know, and you know, Kevin, that the mainstream media has tried to spin this narrative because he's a deep state Obama, Clinton, Bush guy.
And that is the double standards. More on that in a minute. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Senator John Milkovich joining us once again with insight into Robert Mueller and what's next for him. Before we get to that, you are a state senator. You're in Louisiana. You're a Democrat. Recently, your legislature, your governor, signed the heartbeat bill. Can you tell us a little bit about that? That seems to be happening across the country, sir. You're on the inside. Tell us about the process.
Well, we're very excited about this. Democrats, Republicans, African Americans, and whites, and people just joined together across the state of Louisiana. We believe that when we saw members of two state legislatures cheering the legalization of late-term abortions, that was a shock to the moral infrastructure and moral core of our nation. And we're fighting back, and we're determined to take the fight through law and prayer to the abortion industry and shut them down and end this infanticide which the abortion industry is inflicting upon our unborn babies.
Finally, why should people check out your work on Mr. Mueller?
Well, because it's a great book, and it's all because of other people, not because of John Milkovich. It's because of these researchers, federal agents, whistleblowers, cops, veterans, international investigators that have spent many thousands of cumulative hours researching and documenting and talking to witnesses. There's no conspiracy theory The facts, the evidence, the documentation is all there, and all the credit goes to other people. We're very open in the book about saying that we were standing on the shoulders of giants, as they say, and relying upon the firm foundation blocks of facts, documents, and professional investigation. So, the facts are there. They're very disturbing, but the American people deserve to know the truth. And listen, Kevin, I want to give a shout-out to you. You're one of the people that has stood with the president against the phony Robert Mueller pseudo-investigation from day one. I thank you. We did beat him. I know he doesn't want to admit defeat. Bill Martinez says he doesn't want to have to go to Washington, D.C. cocktail parties and hear that he didn't get the president, so he's trying to say, look, I didn't do it, but Congress can. Well, look, he couldn't build a case because there wasn't one. But you're one of the people that stood up for America. God bless Kevin Miller. Thank you.
God bless you, Senator. We will have you on again. Appreciate the fight.
Hey, buddy, hang in there. Keep swinging.
Right back at you, sir. Appreciate you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie. KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Don't forget Sean Hannity this afternoon, coming up today at 3. Your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. Joining us now from CapEd Credit Union, our great friend Todd Christensen. Todd, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kevin. How are you this morning?
Not bad. Hard to believe it is the end of another school year, and whether you're graduating elementary school, middle school, high school, college, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of graduations going on at this time of year, sir.
A lot of graduations. The students there at ICOM have finished their first year at Idaho's first medical school, and we have school districts like West Ada School District and others whose last day is today, and graduations have occurred. Just another amazing year with our teachers, with those that are in the education community, and the great students and parents and family who have supported them throughout the year.
Boy, can you remember your last day of school, last day of high school?
I can remember my last day of high school pretty vividly. Actually left early, and we went on a family vacation up and down the Oregon and Washington coast and up into Canada. So I remember leaving early and getting started on a family vacation early.
And many people are doing that right now. Of course, before the vacations, we were counting pennies, and I'm so grateful. We're also grateful for CapEd Credit Union helping us count the pennies from Miller's Mission. We have some updated numbers, $16,743. That's 1.6 million and change pennies. Imagine that.
That's a lot of change in pennies. I know that earlier in the week we had you at 2 of our locations to help count all of the coin, and it was just amazing to see the totes being packed in and the totes upon totes and then running them through our coin counting machine.
Well, and we appreciate the staff for being so patient with us, because those were a lot of pennies, a lot of dimes, nickels, and quarters. And think about each penny touched by an individual, manually collecting those. And, of course, Todd, you got right in there. You were helping us haul them in from the van. I mean, again, just how much care and compassion went into collecting that money, and now it goes to the Boise Rescue Mission.
Exactly. We were listening to and talking to the students here this morning as it relates to why did they choose ICOM and why did they choose Idaho. And I think Miller's Mission of this last week and the millions of pennies that have been brought in to support those that are in need in our community is one of those, just one of those many examples of why we choose to live in the great community that we live in.
Speaking of which, let's talk about something great, and it's never too early to learn about money, how to use money, how to actually, as Dave Ramsey says, use your money as opposed to money using you, and that's Camp Cash Ed. I love it.
Camp Cash Ed, we've talked about it and shared with your listeners, and for those who are new to our community or those who are just tuning in now, we have 2 camps, one at the end of June and one at the end of July. It's for youth ages 11 to 14, and we focus over Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all on money management principles, entrepreneurship, business practices, and really helping young individuals have an appreciation and an understanding of how money works, and as you mentioned, of how you can make your money work for you rather than working for your money.
That's also important, especially when you're buying a car.
Well, as we look at people wanting to get out on the road for that family vacation and and maybe it's just time to update the vehicle. I know my wife and I, with my own personal car this last couple of weeks, it's nickeled and dimed us to not death, but maybe it's time for us to look at a new vehicle. And for those that are in a similar situation here in our community or just wanting to upgrade their vehicle, CapEd is always there as a great resource to be able to give you a great rate on an automobile. We have a variety of terms and rates that are available. So if you're looking at a vehicle, we'd always encourage you to take a look at CapEd and come in and chat with one of our professional staff members, become pre-qualified, and then go into one of your dealers. Or if you're at one of the dealerships, you can always simply ask, hey, I'd like to finance this through CapEd. And we have those partnerships and relationships with area dealerships as well.
And Todd, finally, just again, a thank you to all the educators, the administrators. The kids may be out, but the work of educating people in Idaho, the educators never stop working, the support staff as well.
If it's a 24/7, 365 profession and a dedication, we give a huge shout-out to all of our teachers, their support staff, and family, parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles who have supported everyone in this concluding school year. But as you mentioned, our professional educators are going to continue to be in their classrooms, and administrators and planning and preparing for this next year. And so from CapEd, with our dedication to education, and as we often say, membership in CapEd Credit Union supports the education community, we give a huge shout-out to all of our teachers, support staff for another great school year.
Todd, enjoy the day. I have a feeling you'll have a really good morning at least.
We're going to have a great morning, headed over to help out with the West Dade Educational Foundation and their golf tournament to raise funds to support the West Dade School District. So we're happy to be out at the golf course later this morning and enjoy the opportunity for camaraderie and help raise some funds for students.
That's a tough life, Todd. We appreciate your dedication this morning.
It's hazard pay today, so.
Thank you, Todd. We'll be talking to you soon. And again, thank you for helping us with the pennies. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Our great friend Todd Christian joining us. CapEd Credit Union. They love the teachers. Check them out today. Speaking of teaching in CapEd, thanks to them, we're promoting our school, securing our future, along with Team Mazda Subaru and ICOM. Kiefer Starks joining us once again. So we spoke in October, November, and we're both still here. That's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing.
How was the year for you?
The year was insane. Looking back, it feels like we were just talking. It feels like we just started yesterday. I think they told us at the beginning of the year, the hours feel like years, but the weeks feel like minutes. And now we're closing on the first year, and I feel like the summer was just starting, and here we are again. So it's crazy.
So you'll get a little time off?
Yeah, we get the next two months off. We come back August 5th.
So what does that really mean, though? I mean, for people of your ilk that are high achievers, that want to make a difference, that want to serve their community.
Sure.
I mean, do you get 2 months off? Or?
Well, a lot of us are going to take the opportunities to do research because you don't get a lot of time to do that in the school year. I'm going back up to work in an ICU that I worked at before I came to med school, doing some anatomy pro sections, volunteering in the community.
Okay, you're going to have to translate that. ICU, anatomy, I can't even pronounce that.
Sure.
Much to the lack of surprise of the listening audience. But can you share with us, just translate that for us?
Yeah. So I'm just going to be working in the intensive care unit up at a hospital up north. I was a CNA before I came here, just a nurse's assistant.
And you choose to do this.
Yeah. It's just a good way to get back and get back to the community and see medicine in real life, because sometimes when you're in the books all day, it's very different.
Now, a CNA,
mm-hmm.
What's that?
Certified nurse assistant.
Okay.
So just the nurse's sidekick, taking patients' vitals, looking at their blood pressure, making sure that they have everything they need, that kind of stuff.
Sure, but when you're talking about intensive care, I mean, it doesn't get any higher than that.
Sure.
When we're making sure that the blood pressure is correct,
mm-hmm.
the readings are right, that must be a tremendous responsibility.
Sure, yeah, it absolutely is, and I love doing it. It's something it opened my eyes to healthcare before I came to med school, and it's part of the reason I'm pursuing this degree as a physician, because I just want to give back, and I really enjoy doing that stuff.
When we talk about giving back, that seems to be the theme here, but what does that really entail when most of us, if we had a choice between going to the doctor and probably being audited, we choose being audited?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. It makes me sad to think that so many people are worried to go to the doctor these days. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people feel that way.
What about your journey here?
To get here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I grew up in Idaho. I'm from Twin Falls. I did my undergrad up at the University of Idaho. Got a bachelor's in biology and a bachelor's in microbiology. And then I heard that ICOM would be opening in southern Idaho, close to where I'm from, where my family's at. So that was really important in decision making for me.
Very big deal for the state.
Absolutely.
As an Idaho native, what does that mean to have ICOM?
I think it's amazing. You know, like Dr. Hasty said when he was here, we're ranking 49th per capita in terms of physicians. We have such a shortage, even up north. It was evident that we just didn't have the physician demand or the physician supply to meet the demand. So having a school here that's going to pump out good quality physicians that, are the osteopathic principle and philosophy, I think it's going to be great for the community and great for the state.
Now for me, really for me, can you explain how the osteopathic philosophy is different from other philosophies,
Sure.
or the same?
Yeah. So, I mean, what a lot of people don't know is that there's really two main physicians you can see. You can see an MD or you can see a DO. We're a DO school. We, Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine. We both study the same curriculum, same biomed stuff. Everybody learns how to be a doctor. But we get 250 extra hours of hands-on manipulative medicine. We call it osteopathic manipulative therapy. We believe that the body has a natural ability to heal itself if given the opportunity. You know, we've existed for thousands and thousands of years without doctors, or without the medical care that we have in today's world. So we just allow the body and put the body in a position or in a way that it likes, so that it can facilitate its own healing. And so that's a big part of our philosophy. Is just making sure that we're not overprescribing medications that are just going to make a situation worse.
You guys ever have fun?
Yeah. I think it's great. You know, we get to practice this stuff in lab every Wednesday, and it's like
Well, right, and the lab is, very technologically advanced. It's not like you're dissecting frogs here, and I'm not trying to oversimplify
No,
it, but
sure.
Can you share with us the technology that goes into the labs and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So we have two main labs. We have our anatomy lab, which we're getting a new one built as we speak, and that's
Wait
going
a
to
minute.
be great.
A new one?
Yeah.
This
Right
building's, a year or two old?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So ISU has agreed to do an extension for our anatomy lab just right across the way, and that's going to be like state-of-the-art anatomy lab. It's going to be the top of the line, all of the best technology and equipment. Unfortunately, for the first class, we didn't get to use it, but we will be able to go back in and see the cadavers and specimens next year. But in terms of our osteopathic manipulative therapy lab, it's great. We've got pre-recorded videos of all the treatments and techniques we're supposed to learn, and everybody's got a TV close to them so that when we're doing the lab and we find an interesting finding on one of our fellow students, everybody can see it because there's a TV nearby. It's great. Wide open spaces, natural light.
Let me ask you about the future of medicine, because we've mentioned this, how technology is playing a role here at ICOM. And we talk a lot about this on KIDO Talk Radio, but the robotics. What do you make of the robots doing the surgery and all that? I don't know if I want, the robot going in there.
Sure. We haven't had a whole lot of experience learning about a lot of that stuff yet.
Right.
But,
I'm going to trust the people.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, absolutely. There's a
Yeah.
reason we're training physicians
Yeah.
still. So I actually want to go into surgery, so I think from my understanding, there's a time and a place to use the robots, but nothing can match, a trained human hand.
Exactly. Kiefer, why surgery? I mean,
Yeah. I don't know. I've actually always just had the urge to go into surgery. I think my mom tells a story whenever people ask that I was really young and I took my sister's teddy bear when she was gone and I cut it open with a butter knife and was doing open heart surgery on it with her stethoscope. And I don't know how the idea ever got into my head, but it's stuck ever since. And my sister was kind of upset about the teddy bear, but
has she forgiven you?
I think maybe. I don't know yet.
Finally, for people that are challenged, they're having a tough time, you all here are very young, very focused, very determined, overcoming, doubt. What would you say to people?
That was a huge roadblock when I decided to make the leap and officially, apply to med school, because that's half the battle. This is competitive, and you're in even now they call it imposter syndrome. You're in school and you feel like maybe you're not the smartest or you don't belong here. Doubt's gonna follow you no matter where along the line in this process you are. If you're really passionate about making sure that patients can receive the best care possible and you want to give back in that way, then I would hang on to that. And that's what I hang on to get me through the tough days of studying and the competition. just making sure that, every time I open a book, I'm doing it for my future patients. And that's what matters.
Kiefer, thank you, brother.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you again.
Yeah, of course. You too.
You're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. And it's time for the touchy-feely segment. And there's probably no one that we all want to be more touchy and feely with than our friend Jeff the Suit. Remember, this program is for entertainment purposes only on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. It's very good always to have oversight from your direct immediate supervisor per your employment contract by name, and that is our friend Jeff the Suit. Good morning, sir.
I didn't know it was in as the suit, but that's exciting. And I didn't know there would be touching, so there's a lot of surprises this morning.
Well,
but,
figuratively, not literally.
Got it. Understood.
We share the value of education, and here we have graduation season, and not a lot of folks mention that. You recently took part in a graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
And yet we have, it seems that if you go on social media, everyone is touched by graduation this time of year.
I was touched by a really long elementary school graduation that probably rivaled college length, so it was interesting. But no, man, it's funny. My mom is in town. They just came in last night. She's a first grade teacher, so this has always been important to me. And on a day where West Ada is wrapping, I think Boise is as well. We're surrounded by people a lot smarter and going to be a lot richer than you or me. But it is amazing the importance of education. And congratulations and thanks to Cap Ed for teaming with us for another year of Promote Our Schools. This has been a big year for the 18-19 school year. So nice job, Millie, and nice job, KIDO family, for getting behind the schools and the amazing education we have here.
Appreciate Cap Ed, Team Mazda, Subaru. And when we've been asking folks this morning about your last day of school, your last day of high school. Do you remember that?
I was just talking to my parents about that last night. My high school experience was kind of weird, to say the least, and I was so ready to be gone. And I was speaking at graduation because I was, this will surprise you, hyper involved and had to be, in control of things. So I was ASB president and newspaper editor and all this. And my principal and I got into a fight about what was going to be in my speech, because I was going to note
you bucking authority.
Weird,
that,
I know,
yes.
strange,
Right.
crazy. But I was going to note in a very gentle way that we'd had a really strange senior year and most of us were ready to get out. And he didn't like that and wanted me to soften the message. And I said, well, suspend me. And we got in a little argument.
Suspend me.
Yeah.
You're graduating, you're speaking,
Yeah.
and this is how you want to go out.
Well, he was a clown, and it was his last day, too, and so we had a little tension. And actually, for what it's worth, my parents are very much respect authority people, had my back, and also agreed he was a clown, and if I needed to fight, they were with me, which was nice. I appreciated that.
It's nice that someone else is being polarizing here this morning.
Yeah, I'll take that role. Here we are.
Right, but you think about what the parents and the students and everything that's going on,
Yeah.
and the parties,
Yeah.
and not like the kid parties, but the parents bringing people into
Yeah.
town, that sort of thing.
Yep. No, I remember for me, I was leaving Seattle for Washington State University, and so people bring the pillow, they give you all the good advice, they warn you don't fall into the same mistakes that we made. You go make a lot of them on your own, but it is really, I think it's an amazing thing to be able to say congratulations, and celebrate as a family for usually getting kids through it. And no matter what your experience was, like I had in retrospect, a pretty lonely high school experience, but going off to college and the next steps was really important. And the victory of finishing high school and kind of celebrating with those close to me was an important time. This is a good time of year.
Right.
It's a good feeling.
Any advice that if you could go back to your younger
Oh,
self?
so much, man. Gosh, if I could have that conversation, get more involved, step out of your comfort zone, know that you're not alone, know that you'll meet people that feel the way that you do, and also know that with small steps forward and with not being so afraid to actually be who you are, you're going to thrive in a way that you didn't even understand could be possible. And you can start that with a couple of small changes.
Maybe that's lessons for all of us.
Could be. I'm still learning it now, so I haven't mastered it, but yeah. I'd have a long conversation with high school me if I could go back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The older you get, the less you know.
Yeah, for sure. Or at least the less black and white it is and the more gray you swim through.
You see, but this is what I love about President Trump.
Oh,
He's bringing back.
I know a lot about that.
He's bringing back the black and the white, and
He won the election because of him.
And you know something?
No one else had anything to do with
when
it.
you have a president that is so bold, so
bold,
courageous, to be able to just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's making America great again.
Listen, narcissists are the most incredible people because they're certain of everything, and it's a powerful statement.
Is it being a narcissist if it's true?
Yes. Those are not mutually exclusive. I've met a few of them.
Well, we go back to the president, though, and talking to the folks at the Air Force Academy yesterday, you're going to win. We need you.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't America need a cheerleader like that?
So here's the thing. I'd be fine if he was on the sidelines as a cheerleader. That'd be just fine. I do give him credit for this. I'm not a huge fan of the prez, as you intimate all the time. But to stay and shake the hands of every graduating cadet, classy, cool move. I respect that. That's big.
So how do you balance that?
Oh, I don't think that means you're qualified
think-
and or not a pathological liar. It just means you did a cool thing.
But you look at the economy. You look at Robert Mueller, now neutered, off to the great ash heap of history. The president's winning. We're all winning. We're back.
I'm not sure that anyone's winning, but if that's where we feel more comfortable, so be it.
It's all about comfort.
Yes, a lot of times it is.
More with Jeff the Suit coming up next. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work on time. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Jeff the Suit joining us now. And full disclosure, I always give Jeff the Suit a hard time, but
It's our love language, man.
when we talk about the evolution of the program and we continue to try to make it better, there's one individual that is responsible for that, and that would be Jeff, who works with myself, Ray Amaya, always helping both of us, telling us things that we may or may not want to hear in an effort to make this program better. So I always want to thank you for that.
Oh, I'm proud of your work, man. I think we really have something special here that you started long before I got here. And you actually invited me in. I remember one of our first conversations was, tell me what I don't want to hear. And I thought, oh, buckle up, Daddy. But no, it's been a good thing. And honestly, you do a great job. I'm proud of all of our radio stations. I oversee all 6 of them. And this one has the most unified group of people that come together as a KIDO Talk Radio family and do great things for our community. So it's unique. And you lead that very well.
Well, thank you, and hopefully I can continue to lead that. And that's
At least for today. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good. No promises.
$16,743.
Yeah, man.
1.6 million pennies and then some.
We're walking right up to the top here, right? But I was skeptical of how much a penny drive would bring in. And you, and again, the KIDO family blew me away. So well done. I often play the skeptic. Sometimes it's what I should do. Often it's what I shouldn't do. And, man, I underestimated. So well done.
What about the charitable giving here?
What about it?
That's what people do. You've
I
traveled the
know.
country, and
No,
not everybody does this.
No, it's amazing. I've lived in the places that sometimes get more attention for it, too. Like you think, I lived in the South, as you did. And there's this idea that everyone is so generous. And no, they're generous with a bless your heart. Whether or not they pull out their wallet, that's a different story. But I think that's one of the things that seeing what we get to do on this station, seeing what we get to do on one of our sister stations with the Christmas Wish program.
Right.
When we go back to people and say, okay, can we do a little more because there's more need, it is remarkable how everyone steps up. And we've got some friends from Team Mazda Subaru here, too, that actually are involved with us on both of these projects that we're talking about, too. It's not unusual to find people here and go, what cause are you most passionate about or involved with? It's kind of part of the lifeblood of our community, and that is an amazing thing, and it is not found everywhere.
Right. I think a lot of people misunderstand that what works here would work somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think so. We all want to feel like we're unique, right? It's part of human behavior, but we really, Treasure Valley as a region and as an ideology that people live by, we do it a little bit differently here.
And you love it here.
I do.
All right.
Never would have guessed I'd live here. Really glad I do.
Words to live by. Jeff the Suit, we appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate you back, man.
You're home for Fox News, KIDO Talk Radio. Stay tuned.